In our last video, we talked about the 5 reasons to buy a brand new motorcycle. So, like any good disembodied voice on the internet, which may or may not be a sentient dog, I must offer my perspective on the other side of the coin and present you with 5 reasons that you should buy a used motorcycle. Right off the bat, buying a used motorcycle just gets you a lot more bang for your buck. Simply put, your dollar stretches a lot further in the used market. Whether you're looking for high performance, premium features, or a bigger engine, chances are you can find a well-maintained used bike with everything you want at a significantly lower cost than what they're going to sell you for on the new showroom floor. Plus, if you're buying from a private seller, you don't get hit with those exorbitant dealer fees either. Motorcycles are like any vehicle. They're going to depreciate quickly, especially in the first few years. Brand new bike might lose 20 to 30% of its value just by being ridden off the dealership lot. That means a bike that was $15,000 new might sell for 10 grand just a couple of years later, even if it's in excellent condition. As a buyer of a used bike, that depreciation works in your favor. You're essentially getting the same machine just with a few thousand miles on it, and you're saving thousands of dollars in the process. This really opens up a lot more options for what you're able to afford. You know, for 7 grand or so, pretty much what you end up paying out the door for a brand new Ninja 500 after taxes and fees, you can get a pretty sweet used bike with more power or features. Or hell, you can instead just buy a used Ninja 400 for like $4,300 and pocket the difference. But if you're a more experienced rider, you'll definitely have more options when exploring used bikes. $10,000 on the used market can get you a whole lot of motorcycle. A quick glance at Cycle Trader shows me that for $10,000, you can get an MT-09, a 1290 Adventure, a Ducati Supersport, and a GSX-R 750, all newer than 2018 and with just a few thousand miles. You'd be hard-pressed to get that much motorcycle and buy new from the dealership for the same amount of money. Of course, buying used does require more diligence. You're going to want to inspect the bike, check service records, and possibly factor in the cost of tires, fluids, and other wear items. But even with those extra considerations, you're still likely to come out ahead financially. One of the often overlooked benefits of buying a used bike is the significant savings on insurance. Compared to brand new bikes, used bikes almost always cost less to insure, which can add up to hundreds, even thousands of dollars saved every year, especially if you're insuring sport bikes. Sport bikes are always expensive to insure, and a brand new sport bike is even more so. So if you have your heart set on a certain squid missile, a used model might make it significantly more affordable due to the difference in insurance alone. Insurance premiums are based on several factors, but the biggest one is the value of the bike. A new motorcycle has a higher market value, which means it's more expensive for an insurance company to repair or replace if it's stolen or totaled. That higher risk to the insurer translates directly into higher monthly or annual premiums for you. Used bikes, on the other hand, have already depreciated. They cost less to replace, so insurance companies charge less to cover them. That lower value means you'll pay less for both full coverage and liability-only insurance. Some riders who buy older used bikes will carry just the minimum liability insurance required by their state, saving even more money, while accepting that they'll just have to eat the cost of their bike should it be totaled or stolen, instead of paying more for insurance each month. That decision is way harder to justify with a brand new machine that's worth significantly more. And if you have a loan on it, full cover insurance is non-negotiable. You're legally required to carry full coverage based on the terms of your bank note. Another reason insurance is cheaper on used bikes is that they're often just less desirable targets for theft. Bike thieves tend to go after newer, more expensive models that are either easier to unload or at least more fun to joyride. They say that the best motorcycle theft deterrent is riding an ugly bike, and as an owner of an adventure bike, I'd have to agree. If your used motorcycle is a few years old and not a particularly popular model, insurers may view it as lower risk and they can further reduce your premiums. Buying a used bike versus a super popular new model can also result in lower insurance costs because as an older bike, it might not have a super active track record for claims as other riders. You know, how many people are totaling out their 2017 Versys 650s because of accident or theft? Probably not many, compared to a 2025 R7, which are being totaled by street squids once a week in America. The savings in insurance costs can make a big difference in your total cost of ownership. If you're on a tight budget or simply want to minimize your monthly expenses, buying a used bike is a smart move. One of the biggest mental hurdles that new motorcycle owners face is the fear of damaging their shiny brand new bike. If you've ever dropped a brand new motorcycle, you know this pain. When you buy a new motorcycle, every tiny scratch, paint chip, or scuffed fairing can feel like a catastrophe. That showroom fresh finish makes you hyper aware of every little imperfection, and the anticipation of any minor damage can actually impede your growth as a new rider. If you're too nervous about your bike getting rock chips or rained on or scuffed up from normal wear and tear, you're not gonna be as excited about going out and riding. But when you buy a used bike, that pressure eases significantly. I'm a big proponent of having a rat bike. It's a lot of fun. Chances are the bike already has a few minor dings or signs of wear, and that's kind of a good thing. It gives you permission to ride instead of constantly worrying about keeping everything perfect. You're less likely to stress over dropping it in a parking lot, getting the plastics plastered by a bug, or brushing it up against a wall in a garage. It's already broken in and patinaed and helps you focus on enjoying the experience instead of obsessing over keeping it flawless. As I mentioned, this peace of mind can be especially valuable for new riders. Everyone makes mistakes early on, parking lot tip overs, forgetting to put the kickstand all the way down, or tight U-turn fails. Doing that on a brand new bike hurts, but doing it on a used bike that's been there and done that, I mean, it kind of sucks and it's embarrassing, but it doesn't feel nearly as bad, like you've ruined something perfect. A used motorcycle can definitely be a smarter choice for a new rider. The stakes feel lower, and that lets you take the time to truly learn and to try new things and to grow as a rider without the fear of ruining an expensive investment. And if you do decide to sell it later, a few extra scuffs won't dramatically impact the resale value of the used beginner bike, unlike with a new bike that loses significant value the moment it's no longer mint. A used bike gives you freedom to not worry so much about damage and imperfections and can alleviate a significant source of concern, especially for the new rider. As I mentioned in the video from the other day about reasons to buy a new bike, one of the reasons was so that you don't have to subject yourself to a previous owner's terrible mods and customizations. But let me play devil's advocate here. Sometimes, and if I may be bold to say rarely, a used motorcycle has been modified incredibly tastefully in a way that actually sweetens the deal. Instead of starting from scratch or spending extra money upgrading a stock bike, you can end up with a machine that already has desirable upgrades that improve performance, comfort, or style. It's commonly agreed upon that mods don't really add any resale value to your bike, which can suck for the seller, but can be kind of sweet for the buyer. If the current owner has already installed a nice exhaust or even has some nice creature comforts like luggage or a touring windscreen or whatever, even if they spent thousands in mods, the bike is not going to be worth thousands of dollars more. But you'll be able to take advantage of those useful upgrades without spending the money yourself. I feel like ADV bikes are like the most commonly tastefully modded machine. Some middle-aged man will be selling an Africa Twin or a V-Strom with like every single high-end name brand ADV Farkle already installed on it for like $5,000. It'll have an Acura exhaust, heated grips, bark busters, a windshield, Nelson Riggs bags, crash protection, and so on. In instances like that, if you like the bike and it already has all those awesome mods done to it that you're gonna do yourself, it can be pretty sweet. Another benefit is that tastefully modified bikes often means the previous owner was passionate about it and took good care of it. Riders who spend time and money on good mods usually take care of their bikes. If you see stupid skulls or spiky things or dumb squid mods, the chain is probably rusted and they never check the oil. But these other riders, they tend to follow the maintenance schedule, store the bike properly, and pay attention to details. That's the kind of owner you want to buy from. I feel like everyone who has ever owned an Africa Twin, or a Versys, or a Super Tenere has a binder full of service records and receipts as well. Compare that to someone selling a 10-owner GSXR 600 that has a coach exhaust, smoked windshield, anodized shorty levers, and LED underglow. Not only will that bike not come with service records, half the time it won't even come with a title. That's definitely the bike to stay clear of. But a tastefully modified bike owned by a responsible owner can definitely be part of the buying experience when doing it used. Buying a used motorcycle often gives you way more room to negotiate, more flexibility in the deal when compared to buying new. When you're working with a dealership selling a brand new bike, prices are often pretty firm due to manufacturer set pricing, which reduces or eliminates any potential wiggle room. New bikes are often in high demand too. Like, you think anyone on planet Earth has been able to negotiate the price of a brand new Panigale V2S or an R9 when every dealership's allotment has been secured with deposits the minute they were made available to the public? I don't think so. As a fun story, I paid $13,000 out the door for a ZX4RR back in 2023 because I wanted to be one of the very first people on planet Earth to make videos with it. So yeah, I paid through the nose for it. But with used bikes, the price and terms are far more open to discussion. Someone might be selling a bike for $7,000, but there's nothing stopping you from offering up a Chinese pit bike, a fishing boat, and the naming rights to your firstborn child as a trade. There's no guarantee that your trade offer will be accepted, but you can offer it. That's how deals are made. Used motorcycle prices can vary a lot based on age, condition, and mods, how motivated the seller is, and even where they're located. If someone's trying to make room in their garage or unload a bike they barely ride, you might be able to negotiate hundreds or even thousands off their asking price. You can also leverage small imperfections like cosmetic wear, older tires, or a bike that's due for maintenance to help lower the price even more, all while still walking away with a solid machine. At dealerships, the used side of the showroom floor is often more flexible too. Salespeople have more freedom to adjust pricing on used inventory that's been sitting for a while because all those bikes are just trade-ins anyways. They might offer perks like waived fees, discounted service, or better trade-in deal just to move in the bike. The used motorcycle market gives buyers more control. You're not locked into rigid pricing or standard packages. Instead, you can hunt for the right deal, ask questions, point out wear upgrades, and tailor the transaction to your advantage. With some patience and negotiation savvy, you can end up with a great bike at a better price. What do you guys think? Are you the savvy shopping do-it-yourselfers who want to hunt down the best deals and maximize the value of their dollar? Do you prefer the convenience and peace of mind that comes from buying a brand new bike with a warranty? There's definitely pros and cons to both. But the best scenario is when you find the guy who's selling a nearly brand new bike with less than 100 miles on it for $2,000 less than MSRP because he bought it without telling his wife and she said she was going to divorce him if he didn't sell it. Those are the deals you want to look out for because it's the best of both worlds. Thanks so much for watching all the way to the end. I appreciate it. I'll catch you on the next one. Fact: the term computer bug originated in 1947 when engineers found a moth stuck in the relay of the Harvard Mark II. Goodbye.
Wake up! You're dreaming! You're dreaming! Wake up! Wake up! Wake up! None of this is real! None of it's real! None of it's real! Wake up! Keep watching Amy Noob.